Let me text Janet.
Everybody did get an email this morning from me because of the Zoom link. So
Yes, thank you. That was actually extremely handy.
yeah, I'm sorry for the delay. I was having trouble. This whole .gov switch over on the email thing really. Oh, you're hearing
Well,
me
the email said
echoing.
it's not going to affect anything, Ryan. So what are you stressed about?
We couldn't, none of us could log in because we did have to change that part of the address. So we still got email. We just couldn't get in.
Get out.
You the
Yeah.
email. Yeah. So that's how that worked.
Jane Davis, you look like you're in ancient Egypt.
I don't want to be corrective, but I think if she was in ancient Egypt, they wouldn't be crumbled. Like she might be in a more modern version, right?
Nor would there be technology, right?
Right.
I stand corrected.
Okay, I texted Janet. Maybe she's off someplace fabulous and she's not going to attend, but there we are. Okay, are we live?
We're live.
Yeah. Okay, this is the Southborough Library Board of Trustees, August 25th, 2025. It's 11 a.m. and this is our board meeting. The first agenda item is approval of the minutes from July 14. Do I have any corrections or emendations?
So there was an email that went out this morning that has slightly corrected minutes. A lot of what is different is the section on the drip irrigation. So that's a lot more clear. And then there is one additional edit. I don't know if anybody has it handy. It was on the funding piece for the community fund in the next line. So those were highlighted. But if anybody else has any other corrections.
Okay, I have one.
Oh, Janet, hi, go for it.
Hi, under the library director contract, it says towards the end, Trustee Maney, a motion to reappoint. It should be made.
Okay.
That's it.
I have a question about active shooter training. Are we as trustees eligible to take that? I, for one, am interested in how that works.
Yes,
is that permissible?
Yes, so I have told the the staff that there were trustees that were interested. I also would like, with the board's permission, to invite, and I don't know if any will join us, but the executive members of the Friends, or really any active Friends members. We only have about 7 of them, but I do think it would be helpful to have everybody kind of on all the groups, if they're available, to come and join us for this, because it's the Friends in particular are kind of the stewards of the building on Heritage Day, which is coming up, and we hopefully will be able to schedule this before. I was going to tell you what the department did get back to me. It was Lieutenant McCarthy, and he just said that they have been in the process. I don't know if you guys have kind of been following the news coming out of the police department, but they just hired new officers. So we were kind of waiting until the department got a little bit more staffed before we could do this. But that's, I don't want to take away from this, but when we get to past the minutes, we should talk about the active shooter training a little bit, because we may have to close for a day. And I didn't talk to you guys about that. So I should have put that on the agenda. I apologize. We probably won't schedule anything until late September. So it's going to be like when we don't have a date for it yet. So I can just say that the police department couldn't commit when I reached out to them.
So you're closing for a day for the training?
I think so. We could close for half a day. It's possible, but we were thinking maybe we could close on a Monday, and then
it wouldn't be so bad. Because the last time the training, I think it closed for the afternoon. That was a long time ago.
We could do that too. So we could be open Monday morning for like story time and then shut down and do the training. But there's no way we're going to be able to get everybody, all the full-time staff present while they're also doing their shift. Does that make sense? So we're going to have to, I don't have anybody who can staff the building, I think, if we're going to have everybody do this.
Okay, so close, it looks like, but I guess, I don't know. you know what the staff flows are, so I don't really, so.
But I took us away from the minutes, so I'm sorry.
Okay,
But
I had some corrections if everybody else is done. Do we have
just
other?
to answer David's question, though, yes, trustees will be permitted to come.
Good,
Sorry,
thank
I
you.
went on a tangent, so sorry.
No, it was good though. All right, any other edits? Okay, I have, under approval of minutes, the second line, it says trustee Eckberg made a motion to approve the amended minutes of trustee meeting on June 9th, 2025 as amended. I don't think you need the as amended twice. And then in the section on parking lot, which is down the page, I would use Chris's last name, Leroy, and Bill's
Okay.
last name, Cundiff there.
Okay.
Because they're not identifiable, like say in 5 years if somebody's reading the minutes. And then,
I'll also put their positions with DPW. So I'll put
yes,
like
thank you.
Department of
Yep.
Public Works Superintendent. I'll add that as well.
Yes, I think that's good. And then on the next page, drip irrigation system, the purchase of the hose would be funded by the gardeners. Trustee Yazdani moved to accept the proposal as opposed to made a proposal to accept the proposal.
Okay.
And then on the Gale databases, Ryan is currently getting an itemized list of Gale databases with a quote from Northborough Library and will ask the Southborough Community Fund to fund it, not for funding it.
Good
Yeah,
catch.
that was a correction that we had gotten. That was in
Okay.
this morning's.
And
So you were not the only one, Marguerite, who found that.
yes, the red pen dies hard. Okay, Ryan emailed, the next one under staff training, Ryan emailed with Lieutenant McCarthy about an active shooter training at the library. And then I would say Ryan, because he could mean Lieutenant McCarthy. Ryan suggested the staff training be given in September as opposed
Okay.
to will occur. That's
Okay.
the end of mine. Okay, other corrections?
I
Okay.
already made some.
Okay, good, thank you, Jen. Okay, motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So approved.
Okay, I think that
I'll
was
second.
Janet. Do I have a second? That's Amy. All
second.
right. Landry, aye.
Davis, I.
Eckberg, aye.
Yes, Donnie.
Maney- Go ahead. Maney, aye.
Tinty, I.
Okay, good, thank you. That passes. Now,
Okay, just for the record, Marguerite, I'm gonna have Janet make the motion and Mary second it because Mary said it on the recording, even though
Okay.
Amy, I think, raised her hand first. But
Okay.
I'm gonna clarify this because Mariana has had trouble keeping track. She's like watched the video back multiple times. So I
Yes.
started to tell her I'll reiterate it at the end so that people know.
Okay.
So sorry that's annoying, but it is helpful when she's
No,
ready.
no. Anything that helps Mariana is fabulous. Okay. Shall we move on to director's report?
Oh
Ryan?
yeah, it's the hot August read. Okay, so yes, that was kind of the big thing with this new budget cycle is I basically contacted people to tell them we're not going to renew with them. I have gotten some feedback. A lot of these, even though we had like maybe a couple months of grace period because of when the subscription started. So they're getting notice ahead of time that we're going to drop them. In reviewing the database statistics with Carol and with the other staff, things like the A to Z food databases we got with the food grant, they were never really utilized. Newsbank is the only one that kind of did get some usage on some months. It was still very low, in my opinion, for what we were paying. It was almost $3,000. And that is more of an issue with the vendor itself, is that they were kind of affording a discount to a group of libraries. The biggest libraries that were participating were Marlborough and Westborough. They have new directors as of the last year or two, and both of those directors have decided to drop the database. So I see both of them on a regular basis because I'm part of a CW Mars strategic planning group, and I understand why they're dropping it. I talked to them about it, and I agree. I just don't. It's not worth the money, in my opinion. So I can give more information. I don't think you guys are going to see a difference. I don't think we're going to get even complaints from patrons. We have started the process. We have paid for the new Gale databases. So we wrote the grant, got the grant approved by the Southborough Community Fund. So thank you, SCF. And they already sent us the check, and we already got the bill from Northborough and have paid it. The subscriptions have started. So we're in the process right now of adding all of the database links to Aspen. I did about 10 of them while Libby was on vacation. I think while I was out last week, she did the other 5. So we have a total of 15 databases. So we're kind of making up the difference. I can tell you a lot with the new ones. Even though they're old ones, they're ones we used to have access to through the state. People do have to authenticate through their library cards. So I set that up with the vendor. That took like an entire Friday for some reason. But so that's all set. I'll also say I will talk more about the website in the next director's report, but I have started actively working on sort of the navigation and updating some of the stuff with Libby, who she was really primarily doing all of it about a month ago, but when we last checked in about the website. But I can successfully go in and edit, create pages, create navigation. And I am pretty comfortable with us moving forward with the catalog, even more than I was before. So I have talked with our current vendor. We are going to have to pay a small bill for this period of time that we're having it. It's good through the end of September before we transition. We're then going to have to take over the domain information. So I'm kind of figuring out how to do that. So I didn't know anything about that. So we're in good shape on the website. That's what I can tell you. And you'll start to see things on the catalog page being added and navigation there, because we don't have to just, transfer everything over all at once. We can start building out some of the pages now. But the web presence will be more lean, is what I'm going to tell you. We have a lot of content on our current site, and a lot of people don't use it. So we're trying to really come up with the things that we think are salient and important. If you guys have any feedback as you're reviewing the website, especially when we go live with the full catalog website in October, please feel free to come and talk to me, because I'm taking suggestions. And if you guys are using the website, that's great. So many people don't. So
Can I ask a quick question about that?
yeah.
Just that I don't know how much usage it gets, and I don't know if it's an ongoing thing. I'm just curious. Back in COVID, I found the librarian blurbs about what they were reading so lovely and helpful. And I know they're still on there. And I haven't been on to check in a while. I don't know if that's something you have them keep up with. If not, I'm sure there are a million reasons. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying, as a user, I loved that.
Yeah, so I did too. And then I had this whole vision. You can't, I promise I won't talk about the website for much longer, but I wanted to do this quarterly newsletter with like reviews from the staff, and we were going to call it the CCQ, the Collection Connection Quarterly. I had a whole like name and branding for it. I know, right? So we did that. We sent out some CCQs during COVID because the staff finally had time when they were
Right.
working from home
And
to
you
kind of
probably
write up
don't
the
now.
stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so what the benefit of doing this all from the catalog, which has been there's a lot of stuff that are kind of transitioning to a newer method of doing things, is that we've taken a lot of the existing content and we put it into lists in Aspen. So what that means is when people are searching for books, the blurbs will actually come up
nice.
in the
With the
right.
book.
So that
Perfect.
has been that was my idea. So I'll give
Good
myself credit
idea.
for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so adding those has been really helpful, because we've already had patrons tell us. And then people do use the catalog. So kind of transitioning the
Yeah.
website and putting content in that method has been an
Yeah.
effective strategy. So that's kind of,
Great.
we're looking for opportunities like that as we move forward.
Cool.
I did put some upcoming programs in there, just if you guys want to come in. I'll probably be at both of those. One is an artist's reception. I know Mary and Amy and a few of the others in this group have been to those. They're really fun. Amanda's a local resident, so we're excited about hosting her in September. And then, if you guys want to learn more about seeds, right, there's the Blackstone program. Really what I've been doing for the past, it's been almost 5 weeks, 6 weeks since we last met, is working on the ERIS report and then the financial report once that started. So I really have to thank Brian Valentine and John Parent in particular. They have to give me a lot of data about amounts that have been spent for the financial report. So especially like John gives me a breakdown of energy costs, what the contracted cleaning costs are. That all has to get put in the report. And then Prudence Webster from the Friends has been very good at keeping a spreadsheet of all of the costs that they've spent out. So putting together the Friends piece was, I have to say, a lot easier this year because of that
Good.
spreadsheet.
Good.
So I think there's like one piece of the financial report I still need to do or double check, and then that is going to be ready. We can probably submit that a little bit early. Eris really, we had to wait because we were waiting on some data, which sometimes happens because of the summer switchover. One thing we do report on is summer reading registrations, oddly in the financial report because summer reading is closer to being over. And I will, like, summer reading registrations this summer were up. And if you guys were at the library at all this summer and you happened to be here when a program was here, I think you saw the programming was very successful. It was crowded this year, and that was a difference from last year because some of them were popular, some of them were not. So I have to give Kim and Mariana a lot of credit. They really did a good job this year. So they should get accolades. Some updates on the professional development stuff. I just wanted to keep you guys up to date on that. Really in the miscellaneous category, the thing about the New England Library Association conference, that could have also gone in professional development, but I just wanted to let you guys know, I think what's going to happen is I'm just going to go in as a conference speaker and I'm not going to have to pay to go to the conference, but I will be out that day because I'll be in Rhode Island attending it and speaking at it. So I just want to let you guys know.
I have a quick question
Get in
Which one
free
was
as a speaker?
I have a quick question on professional development. I was disappointed that Mariana was not selected for this library leadership development program. Is that simply a matter of not getting her name in soon enough? Is there some way that we can give her a second bite at the apple here?
Yeah, so I also relayed my disappointment to the
Yeah.
organizers of the event. I guess what happened was that they put out a call because they needed a couple more slots to fill, and then they got inundated with a lot of people once they extended the deadline. So I don't know if it was a matter of timing. I guess they really were trying to also include as many library directors as they possibly could. So she was encouraged to apply next year. They're hoping to make it so that more people can attend next year because of this response. So hopefully, we did kind of put together her application really at the tail end, I have to say. And I will thank, there was one or two trustees who provided letters for her. So also thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I did a letter for her as well. And I think Kim did. So we had a lot of supplemental documentation, but we can't get in everything. And I like to note that, I guess, because you guys did do work to try to get her in, and then just hang on to those letters because hopefully we can use them and update them for next year's.
Well, I
Amy.
think any opportunity we have to increase our ability to provide professional development opportunities for people, even I guess at the next level, to Carol and Leah, for instance, I think that would be well advised if possible.
Yeah,
Amy,
and we will continue to provide those. Yeah.
Amy,
Sorry, Margaret.
No, sorry. Amy, did you have something you'd like to say?
No.
Okay, got it.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes,
Uh,
Amy.
Sorry, Brian, I don't know if you mentioned this and I just missed it. What exactly are you presenting on?
Oh, so we're calling the panel so you think you want to be a library director, and then we've outlined it, but it's the idea is because I'm doing this with one of my library director friends who had been to conferences before. So we talk always at the conference about like what we'd like to see. And so one of the things I really wanted to talk about was sort of the creation and implementation of the staff award I do at town meeting, because it's not an idea that I've really seen replicated. And I honestly, I think all of the staff here at this point like want the year that they win it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like it's like become a desirable thing year to year for people to try to shoot for or write their nominations for. So we were talking about doing something with staff morale, but then we really started talking about how like when you go to management, you take a management class in library school, but they don't tell you things like, you know, your first week you'll have to replace a septic system, which was my experience.
Yeah.
What to
Yeah.
do when the library floods and you
Yep.
are dealing with a natural disaster. So it started, there was like all this breakdown stuff, but a lot of what I have to do is sort of more on the HR side, sometimes in the background, because we've had to update job descriptions, we've had to create new positions. Libby is from a union environment. So we're going to kind of talk about the difference between that because we find at conferences, it's very split. Is that some people are like from Western Mass, they're not unionized, and then people from like larger communities typically are. So that's, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot about this, but that's a little bit what the presentation is going to be. And there's more detailed information, but we have to apply with like an abstract, and they accepted it. So that was good.
Well, congratulations. Everyone's going to be really lucky to be hearing all of this from you.
Thanks. And then Kim has said she'll go, which I told her she doesn't have to, but she's going to be attending the conference. And I said, you know, don't feel obligated. But if there's something children's that's more fun that hour, I told her I'm not going to be offended.
So Ryan,
Yeah.
what is that organization versus the thing in Denver?
Okay, so the New England Library Association is like a local, it's like the Maine, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and
okay.
Massachusetts group. The Denver thing is like a national, it's not really a national conference. I guess it's like a directors, they're calling it a directors summit. So I actually found out about this from Libby, from not our Libby, but Foxborough Libby. That's how I make the distinction. So Foxborough Libby told me that she had gone a couple years ago and that it was very helpful. But it's like a 2-day conference. So I don't know if going all the way to Denver is like worth it. But it was something that I was like looking into. That makes sense. So
Okay. Thanks.
I'll let you guys know in September if I really want to go. And I was hoping MLS would give me money again, like when I went to Ohio, and then I didn't have to ask for money, but I might have to if I go to this. So, but also I'm doing NELA in October too. So I don't want to be away for too long doing too many things. That makes sense.
So I think it's fantastic when you do conferences because you learn a lot and you make for a good network. And P.S. the overall funding situation is getting a little wobbly. So it's always good when you're talking to directors and people who work in libraries and other places. So I support
Yeah.
whatever you want to do basically in that.
Well, I think to kind of, I wish I could talk more about what will be in the Directors Summit. They haven't released like information about the content, and they are going to in the next month. So I'll be able to speak more to it, Janet, about like what if it would be helpful for me. But
Yeah.
from Libby's experience, she kind of said it was very helpful. So I'm hoping this would be similar
Good.
if I went.
Sounds great. Okay, programs, exhibits, outreach. Where are we on that?
I already talked about it because I talked about the art reception that's going to be in September
Oh,
and the
sorry,
seed program.
I misread. I
Yeah.
meant DPW and IT.
Um, We're all set. We're ready to go on to the parking lot when you guys are ready.
Okay.
So the director's report is kind of over. Unless you guys have additional questions for me.
No.
Actually, one quick question that we can bump to another time, or we can bump to a discussion of budget or whatever. Ryan, when you were mentioning the report that you're working to fill out this month, and you mentioned sort of like the regular cleaning of the library. So that kind of expense is not in the library's regular budget.
Correct.
And so all of those other miscellaneous things, what budget is that in? It's a different town budget?
Yes. So when in the financial report, we have a section where we have to report on money paid on behalf of the library by another town department. So
Right.
really what ends up becoming the most is facilities, because facilities does a lot of direct
Yep.
so they pay like energy costs, water bills. I'm gonna forget stuff because I have to look at the
Cleaning.
list. But the
Cleaning,
cleaning,
maintenance. Yep.
yeah, the contracted cleaning service is like in an other category because
Yep.
that is like directly paid for on the library's behalf, and that amount gets put in there. But one of the things Brian provides is I actually have to also talk about the benefits that are paid out for town employees. That goes in there. So Brian has that information, and that's like one of many figures that has to get put in there.
Got
It's
it.
also like, was there interest on a supplemental account? And we
Yep.
have one account that gets interest, so Brian has to give that to me.
And so the benefits are separate from the very large category of staffing.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
salaries budget.
it's just salaried staff.
Salaries
Yeah,
line in our budget. Yeah. So those are
got it.
not they're not, the amounts are not reflected in the annual budget that
Got
we
it.
are
And it's a
utilizing.
separate facilities budget that's connected with other facilities in town.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
if you're
okay.
curious, Mary, I can, because I know that I don't think you've probably seen a lot of the MBLC financial reports or even ARIS. We can set a time and go over them if you'd like. The financial report's pretty easy because it's only a few pages. ARIS is a lot longer, I can tell you.
Okay.
Um,
Yep.
but you kind of, the more interesting part is about halfway through the ARIS report when you get to a statistical breakdown. So like this is when I can answer questions about how many books are in the library, how many books
Got
have
it.
circulated that year, how many
Yep.
ebooks versus physical books. With the financial report, it also breaks down what we paid for as far as like physical books, ebooks, databases, stuff like that. So,
Thank you.
I
and if
think that
anybody, oh, sorry, Marguerite, but if anybody wants copies of those reports, just email me and I'm happy to send them to you.
it's a magnificent document. It's really tedious to do, and I think of it as the income tax return equivalent for the library because it is a full financial picture. And Ryan, hats off to you for doing it every year.
One of the reasons we would do that, well, Libby and Mariana contributed a lot to Eris. The financial report it's all me. I can tell you that one. That is more me doing it. But I used to send these out in trustee meetings all the time, and people really were not super interested, which is, it's fine. This is more my thing, if that makes sense. But I do think the data is interesting. And we do look at it when we put together like a town meeting handout, for instance, because then the data is helpful as far as, how many books circulated, how many programs did we offer, things like that.
Anyway, so
Thank you.
good on you for doing that. Okay, expense report. Do we need to talk about anything in there?
If you guys are okay with it.
I'm puzzled by the top line of numbers. Help me understand that.
Okay.
Salaries, actual 2 months, 0. Is that right?
I am opening it.
No, they're getting paid.
People are getting paid. I can tell you that. Okay. That must be a tabulation error. I will get that fixed for next month. If you bear with me for a moment, I will tell you. That's so weird because I made a point to update the salaries and the line, so I don't know what is going on. But now I will state it for the record. So just bear with me while I open it up. It uses pivot tables, which I should know more of how to do. um,
Well, that's all right. If it's just an omission, but it jumped off the page at me.
yes, I have it saved on the laptop, so I have to. If you guys want the figure, I can give it to you. I just need another minute. Sorry. This is mainly because of the email switchover. So I'm going to say that again. Okay, so we have spent to date $73,661.24 in library payroll. So that is what that number should be. It should, if you guys have printed it and you want to write that in, it should be 73,661.24. And that's based on 4 payrolls to date. I apologize that that was not in the report. Thank you, David, for pointing that out.
And one last question, please. The dues line, 3 from the top, and the bottom line, subscriptions. I assume, because somebody asks this question every year, that from a timetable standpoint, these expenditures are front-end loaded, and that's why we see these large percentages over 100%. Is that correct?
Yes, if it had my way, which believe it or not, I don't always get my way. I don't know if you guys know, but we would pay all of the annual subscription costs in July and then not have to worry about it for the rest of the year until we
Mhm.
reset the budget. But almost all of the databases, a lot of the databases get paid in July, right when we start. And
Right.
then the big one in dues is we pay our consortial bill for CW Mars. It was over 23,000. Um, so that is the biggest bill the library gets. We paid that in July as well. So that's why you're seeing big ticket numbers there.
Yep.
And that'll
Thank
be
you.
pretty consistent every year, is that July and August, you see the biggest
Right.
in those categories. And then,
I promise never to ask the question again.
I think
it was a good question.
it's honestly, you got to remember too that some people view the meetings or attend the meetings and they have these questions and then those questions get answered. I never mind answering questions about the budget or talking about how the money is being spent. I feel like you guys should know that down. So never apologize about that, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 4, CIPC, request for library parking lot. Ryan and Jane, you're on. Help
Do
us to
you
understand, as they say.
do you want to talk first, Jane, or do you want me to go?
I think you should go.
Okay. So a little bit of this was in the director's report, but a few weeks ago, Jane and I and Mariana, who was curious about this, also attended with us and helped us write up some notes about the meeting. We met with Andy DeVita, who is a very nice man from Asphalt Engineering, and we kind of physically looked at the parking lot and we talked about some of the um, challenges that we're concerned about as far as the alligator cracks that we talked about in last meeting, and the drainage issues in particular. We also did talk about specifically the pathway that leads from the intersection down to the library, sort of that paved road pathway that's kind of coming apart because of the tree near. So that was one thing that we kind of revisited with him as well. And we did get a quote this morning for the project. So it was just shy of $60,000.
Ooh,
So that's what they are estimating it would cost to essentially kind of rip up the pavement and then sort of try to level off a little bit, add some drains, and go from there. So
Okay,
that we have a,
can I jump in for 2 seconds here? I think what we need to talk about as trustees is is how extensive a repair there we want to do. Do we want to simply seal coat and repaint the stripes? Do we want to rip it all up? What condition are the drains in? And I know that when drains are going in now, they have to be different from those drains. They have to have a deeper sump according to the new state regulations. So it would mean pulling those out and replacing them with something else. And the issue of taking off the small asphalt diagonal walk, I think we're sort of agreed on that because now there's a sidewalk. The DPW said they could take that up. I guess the trustees, to me anyway, need to discuss. There's also the issue of the lower entrance. Do we want to do something with that while we're at it? It's a different thing from the parking lot. How much do we want to ask CIPC for? What will Bill Cundiff be able to do? And if we do a request for proposal, I mean, we can't just simply go with asphalt engineering. If it's that much money, you have to put it out to bid, right?
Okay, let
So,
me just, we have
okay, good.
4 different names actually of contractors that would do this job.
Mhm.
Ryan and I picked, well, and we met with Bill Cundiff and Chris Leroy and talked about it. And the DPW, I think we already said this, can patch the
holes.
holes in the current parking lot. But in order to get a quote from someone else and a capital request, DPW, Bill Cundiff made it clear that this would have to come from the library, that it wasn't a town thing, that's what he said, and he provided us with 3 names of contractors. So we actually picked our own and met with this Andy DeVita, and he, as you heard, looked at the site plan, we chatted a little, and if they were to do the parking lot, they would also take up the, this is too boring, Janet, take up the pathway that's across the lawn, which is absolutely not ADA compliant, and now we have a sidewalk. So I think a lot of this is future, but one thing that Andy DeVita said is you should vote on whether you want to keep that sidewalk. It's not even a sidewalk, it's a path.
The path,
So that's
yeah.
that's something we have to vote on. I know you said Marguerite, you said we don't want it. Well, I don't want it, but I think we need to
There it
vote
is.
on it.
Yeah, and it will need to be reseeded. That's the other thing.
Right, but the point Andy DeVita made though is that they could do that in 20 minutes, but they'd have to bring in the big equipment that they would also bring to do a huge paving project. It has to be dug out. So I don't know if I mean, I would like it if we voted on that, just so we have it in our pocket and know that that's gonna be eliminated, if that's possible. And just kind of, I don't know, it seems, Ryan, where do you think we are? Are we really gonna submit a proposal or an RF, a capital fund proposal, or are we chicken now?
Well, no, I mean, I just need guidance from the board because one thing Andy told us is that to him, it made sense that if you're going to hire a contractor to come and do the parking lot, that they could include the pathway as part of that. Jane and I talked to him and we're like, we need to get, because of the price threshold, Marguerite is correct. I was trying to get a sense of, does this have to go up to bid? Based on what Andy's saying at this point, because we literally got the estimate this morning, so that it was like 30 minutes before the meeting started. So that helped give
Anything
me
over
a sense.
10 grand has to go out to bid.
Well, we knew
It-
that. We
And
knew
the
that
other part
going
of it
in.
is if DeVito comes in with a proposal that's more money than somebody else, we have to go with a lower one.
Yes, yes. But like I said, we only met with him to get a
sense of a
start.
price. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what he said was we could hire them to come and do the path, but that it would be several $1,000s to get the work crew out here. and that to him, he didn't think it was worth the amount of money we'd have to pay. I don't know that Jane and I agreed, because I think the path is something we could get done in a relatively short term, in one day, versus the parking lot, which we're going to have to, going to capital means we're going to have to put this on a pipeline of projects, and then eventually it's going to have to get approved at a town meeting.
Right, it's
So
gonna be a couple of years is what it's gonna be.
a couple is optimistic, I
Yeah.
would just say. So the pathway, because it would be under 10,000 to do that, is something we could, for instance, pay for out of state aid if you guys felt strongly about this and wanted to get it done. Similar to how we looked at doing the puncture corrections. But that's an example of that cost us less money because we already had work crews here who were doing the facade restoration project. So it ended up not being as
Cheaper,
expensive.
yeah. So my
So-
other question is, if they bring in heavy equipment to do it, is that gonna make more of a mess of the parking lot that we'll have to live with for a couple of years? And my other question is, what is the drainage situation? Right now, we don't have a drainage problem, but I don't know the condition of the drains. I mean, we're not getting leaks in the library, which is like, ooh, that's good. So
Currently, we're not. There is a
let's
small.
keep it so we don't.
think
If we're gonna
people-
mess around with that, will we start getting leaks in the library?
People have noticed that around, like, sort of that walkway that exists from the parking lot directly to the door, that water during heavy rainfall does pool there, but it's typically gone within, a day. It's not even a full day before the water leaves. So I don't want to say that water isn't pooling there, but it's not coming inside the building because of everything we've done. So
As
we
I
don't
said-
actively have a problem currently.
As I said, I think if you start opening those catch basins, they've got to be replaced with a different type of catch basin due to the new law about separating the oil at the storm drains. It's just the sump is 2 feet lower than it is now. And I think if you don't touch it, it's okay, but once you touch it, you may have to dig down deeper.
The application for capital projects for
Mhm.
this cycle is due on September 15th. So I think what Jane and I are looking for at this point is guidance on whether or not the board would like us to proceed with submitting a request to capital. Now that we have an estimated price, that at least gives us some feedback on a placeholder for a cost that we could give them if they're asking us how much a project like this would be.
The 60
so-
grand include the drains.
Let me look at the estimate while you guys
I think it
continue
did.
Can I
talking
ask a
about it.
question while
I
you're
think
looking
it
that up?
did.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mary, please.
So I have a question, and then based on the answer, I have a comment. The first is, if you were to apply for this for the September 15th deadline, am I correct in thinking that capital planning is not only they're receiving this money because they're trying to slot in when the money should get spent within like the next 10 years?
Yep.
So that, and I understand it has to go to town meeting and all that other stuff, but we're looking kind of 10 years out. So we could put this in now and they could say, yep, we approve the project. You're gonna get to the money to do that 8 years from now. Is that, okay, so that's kind of like question number one. And then related to it is, I know there were potentially some other like tweaks to the exterior of the building that we had sort of charged Ryan with exploring or researching this year, just to kind of not necessarily expand our footprint, but like the doorway, how do we make that a little bit more accessible? How do we kind of like work that around the flow of traffic? Do we add in some extra storage, external storage to the building? Things that he was going to look at as part of his charge for the next year. I'm wondering, some of that stuff might also influence like what we did in a parking lot. I'm just trying to understand like what's best to ask for and when, and how not to like ask for something that we then realize is going to get torn up again if we're doing something else. I guess I'm
Well,
looking
let
for
me-
more of like a
yeah.
long range vision.
Let
Yep.
me just quickly make a comment there, Mary.
Yeah.
The pathway is something that we could do without
Oh,
going to
totally.
town
Separate from the
meeting.
pathway. The
And,
pathway is
and
separate from that. Yeah.
that wouldn't involve drains or anything. It would just be getting rid of something that's unsafe
Exactly.
anyway.
And that doesn't
that's-
involve capital planning at all,
It
correct?
doesn't involve that.
Right,
The
exactly.
other would
Full stop.
be,
Yep.
we'll ask and maybe they say yes or no. And even if they say yes, it's way in the future. So
Right.
you
Right.
understand, from what you said, I think it's clear to you, but what we are asking now is about the path, because there's a deadline in September to apply for.
Well, there
to,
isn't actually. If it's under $10,000, we could do it
Yeah,
ourselves.
we can do it we can do the path at any time then. And then we would still let the CIPC group know that we're going to do a project, but that the project is under the amount of money and we're just proceeding it. We would also let DPW know. We would let all the parties know what we're doing, but that we'd be paying for. I mean, I keep saying out of state aid. I would assume that's the funding entity we would use. That's what I would recommend. But that again is up to you guys. There would be enough money probably in the donations account to also cover this. So
I would also like, if I can jump in here for a minute, I would like Chris Leroy to weigh in on what the tree needs to survive if the path is removed.
I don't think I don't think the path is harming the tree any more than it already has. So removing it will only improve the tree's situation.
Unless they come in with heavy equipment and scrape the roots out of the tree. I'm just saying, if it were my tree, I would want an arborist to look at it and make sure that it was going to be okay.
He was part
Yeah.
of the discussion when we talked to the two
Okay.
of them. And
Right.
I don't remember him expressing any concern about the tree, except
Okay.
that we all sort of agreed the path is unnecessary or
Path should
extra.
go, right, yeah.
But Bill was saying if we did, he was negative on a lot of options for it. Do you remember, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that when we talked with Andy, we specifically said we wanted to preserve the tree. And that was also the discussion with DPW as well. I think no one was saying that doing the work would cause an issue with the tree. I think it can safely be removed from that area and then reseeded around where it is.
Okay, as long as you're confident. The other thing is, I was talking to Bill Cundiff, and the issue of the door and the entrance, which I think needs help, is separate from what happens with the driveway and the drainage. It'd have to be two separate projects with two separate sources, because one has to do with the building.
I did have a preliminary conversation with John about the doorway, and I think there are conversations we can have with John about some potential options there. And again, I don't think we're looking at a significant price threshold. So if we do, like kind of to Mary's point, is
Yes.
that if I was charged this year with looking at improvements that we could do, like short-term recommendations, I mean, it may be I'm not going to lie to you. I think redoing anything is going to be a significant cost. And then one of the things that John and I are very concerned about is if we're doing construction on what is essentially the primary entrance of the building, how does that affect operations? Because if people can't come in, they can't use the library. So that's a big question mark right there that we have to kind of plan for. So maybe can we do things around it while leaving the doorway open at the very least? But there's different options we can explore. And honestly, when I started talking to John, he sounded excited, and I don't always hear him get excited about library ideas, but I wanted to talk about the ins and outs of whether or not we can involve the Assabet students like they did at the senior center. And the conversation that John and I had really ruled that option out. There's a lot of reasons why it worked at the senior center. After talking it out with John, I don't think it would work for our entryway, especially because they were able to add on to the senior center in a way that wasn't a doorway. And they were really tied to the students' schedules. And we wouldn't be able to be here.
Sorry,
So.
what do people think about asking John to come up with a design on paper for what that doorway could look like?
Is that in his wheelhouse? I mean, is that something he's
Yes.
Good with? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's renovating, he's building an office now inside of the senior center for the new director, and he is going to completely rehab the interior of the Flag School for Youth and Family Services. So he's a
That's
good
different
designer.
from like the architecture of an outside of a building, making it cohesive, isn't it?
Say it
It's
again, I'm sorry.
interior, that's interior work.
That's
Yeah.
interior work, where this is exterior, making it cohesive with the outside, kind of
I'm
an
not saying we'd have
architectural
to be
thing.
married to it, but I'm just wondering, I would like to see what it could look like out there, independent of whoever does it.
What are you thinking, Marguerite, that you would like there?
Well, the first thing is if you're in a wheelchair and you come in, you have to push the button to get the door open and then move your wheelchair entirely around one of the poles
Yeah,
and
I
you
have.
can come in from the left or the
You
right.
kind of have to go in like facing the front versus the way people walk, which is on the
Yes,
side.
yeah.
Also, the columns that were designed are actually larger than the awning. So, like, if you look at it, they're square, and then the square goes outside of where the ceiling thing is. So it
Right.
also just architecturally, it doesn't go with the rest of the building.
It doesn't
Like
match the
Marguerite and I have
building.
talked about this many times.
That entrance used to have no columns and no roof. It was just a door in the side of the building. And about 20 years ago, Janet, I bet you remember it. I think it was maybe it was Phil, the old facilities director, put up the columns and the little roof. And I don't know how many people I know have commented to me that this is now the main entrance to the library, and it's not very welcoming. You come in and you're at the bottom of a stairwell, and it doesn't feel, it's now our main entrance because of
I
the
wonder if we could do something that just provides shelter, like one of those you see off of, I've seen them homes and businesses, but it's just like a shelter that comes off the building, does not come to the ground. Then there's at least a little space to open your umbrella, whatnot, and people that are, have mobility challenges are not trying to do a dance between everything that's there.
Yeah, so there's a couple considerations and a couple people we have to talk to as part of doing this as an ongoing project. One is John, obviously, and the main reason, even more so than it's the building itself, is because he has to make sure that the entrance is AD accessible and that that switch can be accessed because he's the one that set all that up. In addition to that, we do have to have conversations with USPS about the mail delivery because if we put something out and it affected the mailbox, they're going to be very upset about that. So we've gotten a lot of feedback about how they don't love where the mailbox is now, and it currently works where it is. So I don't know if they're going to take this opportunity, if we're redoing stuff, to revisit those conversations, but I would suspect they would. So I'm just prepping you for all those. Those are like the two people right away I can think of we have to involve in the discussions.
Well, there's also the issue of snow, and I wouldn't mind seeing a bench out there so that people could sit on a bench while they're waiting for mom to come and pick them up. I mean, it seems like that entrance could be so welcoming and fabulous and attractive, and right now it's kind of really
Not.
no.
I mean, but still, Marguerite, when people walk in, they're still going to be at the bottom of the stairwell. It's just, I would like it to be nicer before they come in and they're at the bottom of the stairwell. Does that make sense? It would just, I think there's a lot of enhancements that could be done outside that could make it look a lot better. And when I said that, John really agreed. I mean, I think part of this, it's been cost prohibitive, right? If we're willing to help spend money to enhance it, I think if John could do some stuff down there, if
We're looking at a rebuild entirely with and sort of everyone is kind of saying, oh, we'll fix that when we do the renovation. And now that's not happening. And I'm just wondering if the trustees could sort of put on their aesthetic thinking caps and think about what might look really good down there. Make it a welcoming entrance as opposed to we're waiting to renovate. So I don't know. I just think it could be I mean, I love the flowers from Gulbenkian's. I think it's beautiful. But the poles just look sad to me. Those
Yeah, it's the
pillars.
poles specifically that I really hate, but I mean, it's the whole thing is kind of sad. So just going back to the parking lot, the section in the quote, because it's a quote, not a proposal, not any of that. The section that they wrote up that mentions drainage is as follows. Parking lot has insufficient current pitch that is less than 2% minimum to ensure proper water flow. Asphalt engineering will make every effort to ensure proper water runoff, but still cannot be held responsible for any puddles, pooling of water, or drainage issues which may occur.
Well,
So
he
that's
had
what they put in the quote.
Yeah, he had commented that the handicap parking space was on too big of a slope, that shouldn't have, that was bad. I mean, I think he was right, but I'm not knowing you know,
Yeah, I
the,
don't believe the quote does cover the inclusion of additional drains, Marguerite, because
Or
I went
replacement
through
of
it a couple
current
times.
drains?
No, I don't think it deals with the drains at all. I think this is primarily focused on, taking the pavement up and then kind of trying as best to level it as they can and then putting it back.
So
But they would,
are they pulling it all up and putting down gravel and crushed stone and then paving on top of that? Or are they just gonna
yeah.
pull up some of it? And I mean, how far down are we going?
Well, I mean, that would all be clarified when we go for the proposal, is that
Right.
we can give more specific guidance. And then asphalt would probably be one of a number of groups bidding on it. So
Right,
we can
because it will
specify what
need,
we want.
it will need a bed underneath it to make sure that it stays in the right place.
Yeah, I think that estimate is Jane and I talked to him extensively about that. So I
Yeah.
think this estimate does include that work. It's just, it doesn't, reading through this, it does not include additional drains. That
Okay.
wasn't part of the scope.
My only concern is that we start getting water flooding in the library again, and I'm very paranoid about that. Please forgive my paranoia, but it
I
would
think
be
he was well
extremely,
aware. We were standing right next to the drain,
yeah.
and the door and the path, and then he talked also about the area where the book drops are,
Mhm.
because that could be, well, that obviously would be part of the parking lot. I mean, there's a lot that can be done, and I think we're just looking for a way to get a little of it done without waiting for a 6-year cycle or something.
Well, removing the asphalt path would definitely be a good, um, aesthetically, it would be good.
So I guess that I have two questions then for you to consider and then potentially discuss. Do you want to break out the pathway work and do that separately? If yes or no, I think you guys should potentially vote on us proceeding and getting a quote for just that work so we know how much it is. And then hopefully you can vote on it. We don't have that much time because we're at the end of August before the September meeting. So it would be a relatively quick turnaround if
But
we try to,
we don't need to go to capital. It's under 10.
if it's under 10, we don't have to go to capital. I
Right,
think
we
this
can
would
do this
be.
anytime. Yeah.
Yeah. Then beyond that, do you want me and Jane to start working on a CIPC request for the parking lot? Or they ask for these every year, so we can kind of do additional research, look more. I have an example of a RFQ from the Berkshire Athenaeum, which is a library, on their kind of request that they put out. I think the total document was like, what was it, Jane? Like 75 pages or something.
Huge,
So it's
yeah.
very extensive, just to let you know. But that was after they got, the kind of the blessing from their capital on proceeding with the project. So this ends up being a lot of work. I'm down if you guys want to go in that direction, because I don't even know if we're going to go out to bid now. The next step would be submitting the proposal to capital, and then capital is going to ask to meet with me. And I would invite you guys to come with, but I will tell them a little bit about what we're looking to do. and then they'll have their own discussion about that.
Janet, you're our advisory alumna. What are your thoughts?
I'm just worried about the how much technical knowledge we don't have about the parking lot. I don't know, when you get a bid from someone, have they done an extensive like review, and is this their engineers saying it and all this, or I mean, it's a big
Yeah.
project and we don't want to waste money that's on something that's only going to last a couple of years. I just we don't have this kind of expertise.
Well, I think that what you're saying is we need a firm to do it who has this. I mean, we don't have it. That's why you
Right.
hire someone else. But
I would have thought
and
DPW would do it, or maybe they don't
DPW
have
has washed their hands of it. He made no bones about, nope,
Okay.
this is not a town project, DPW, it's the library. So and it provided us with names of contractors, and don't forget to ask about this and that. He was helpful to, uh, but he definitely wanted us to take, anyway, what I'm trying to answer is your concern about expertise. And we can look further into these firms to see if they have that expertise. I mean, obviously we don't.
Right.
We're library trustees,
So
we're
yeah,
not
this is
engineers.
one of those things where only if a couple of different companies have done an extensive study and made a really thorough proposal, and then we could compare them and say, and I don't know any other way to educate ourselves without going to school.
Well,
Yeah,
the other thing that occurs to me is that a lot of times when you have a project like this, the first thing you pay for is an engineering firm to come and
Right.
do a design,
Your design,
and
exactly.
then you give it to somebody who's going to execute it. So I think we need two steps. We need somebody to look at the gradient and the drainage and where all the storm drains are, and to do a design. And that's the first chunk of money we ask for CIPC for, and that could be like $100,000, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be that much, but and it'd be nice to have some gradations of recommendations, maybe. Like if you want to really redo everything, then here's what it would be. But this kind of work would make it safe and it would last for 8 years. That would be kind of
They
nice to have.
typically they give you a guarantee, Janet, when we talk to Andy, of somewhere between 30 to 40 years. You're
Oh,
really
good.
looking at that type of longevity with a parking lot. So that was helpful for me too, because
Okay.
it's not like we'd be going and redoing this after it already gets redone. But to echo kind of your comments, this is out of my wheelhouse. I think you guys have seen that when we've had these discussions. And I am really trying to, I think what would help is if we get a concrete scope of work. And I don't hate the idea of what Margarita is suggesting
I think
with
that'd be
looking
great.
at a engineer, or we get some sort of consultant who kind of does this. I think because it's under $100,000 as far as a project, it doesn't reach a threshold where we need an OPM, which is an
Yeah.
operating project manager. We had that when we did the facade restoration, and that was helpful because she managed a lot of elements of that, and that was stuff that I didn't know.
Yeah.
She knew to ask those questions and get those things done, right? So
If it's a
I don't
project, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to figure out the best path here, because I don't think I'm the one to write the scope, if that makes sense.
So the other
Oh,
part of it, Janet, just for 1 second, when
Yeah.
they did the Main Street project, VHB came in and they were paid to do all the engineering for everything. They didn't do the paving, they did all the engineering, and then they gave all those specs, some of which may include the library, because they did specs for sidewalks all the way up to Marlboro. Everything was all there with the gradients and what it would need, and then they gave it to Lazaro, and Lazaro did it.
That's what we need.
That's
And I
what we
would
need.
imagine if it's a project that they're estimating costing 60,000, the engineering's not going to be
Nope.
30,000. It's going to
Yeah,
be
I would agree,
10
Janet.
or something.
Yep.
The other thing I do, you know what? Because we're not pros at this, I would talk to Jason Molinaro and just say, here's what we
Malinowski.
think.
Jason Malinowski.
Malinowski.
Malinowski, sorry. Just because he's very good at negotiating, he's very good at bargaining, he knows these engineering firms now. Just, I'd be happy to go with you, just to sit down with him and say, you know, is this the approach you'd recommend? Because he's got a
I mean,
lot.
I don't hate that idea because he's had a lot more experience now dealing with multiple capital projects.
Yeah.
I will kind of circling back to one of Jane's comments when she was talking with DPW. I guess I still am a little confused because it's saying that it's not a town project when the library is a department of the town was confusing to me. I feel like everyone should kind of be working together with this. I do feel like if we let capital know that this is something that we want to do long term, I don't think putting in the request in September, like formally, is something at this point I'm recommending. But I am
I would like to
happy
get
to.
Jason's take on that, of whether or not he thinks this is a town department or not.
I guess I wanted your permission to then talk to Jason as the next step. And I'm happy to have Janet, if you want to be part of that discussion, that's
Sure.
fine. Because I just think it's good to have a second set of ears when we report back in a
Yeah.
couple
I would
weeks.
like to be included in that too. I
Okay.
mean, I feel like we've come this far together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to see
definitely.
it through. Yeah, see what
I was going to
I
say, I realize this doesn't jibe with the timeline necessarily, but could we have Jason come to one of our meetings so we could all be part of that, or is that not productive?
I'd rather have it off the record,
Yeah, okay.
especially when we're talking about should this be a town department and handled by
Yeah.
DPW and that
Well, I
type
mean,
of.
anything
It's
Jason
just
says,
background. It's just,
yeah, anything Jason says, we're going to end up repeating in a meeting
Right.
yeah,
anyway. It's going to kind
yeah.
of be on the record for the record. But I think knowing Jason's schedule, Mary, I don't know. I think it might be more difficult for him to make a trustees meeting, especially
Yep,
since we have a pretty set schedule. So it would be
yep.
like having a special meeting where we're kind of working around his schedule.
Not trying to make more
No, it was a
bureaucracy
good, it
here
was
in
a
any
good,
way.
It
it
was a
was a
good
good
suggestion, though.
suggestion, though. It
Yeah.
was a good, yeah, it was a good thought.
Brian, notwithstanding all the various opinions here, and at the risk of sounding like I'm trying to short circuit it, but there's no problem, is there, in us voting, if we need a vote, to at least take that step and do it in today's meeting, just so that we can get in under the September 15th limit? Does that make sense to
You mean
go ahead with the vote?
But we
putting in a
don't know
capital
what we
proposal?
want yet.
Okay.
We
I
don't
think
know
if
what we're gonna ask them for. Are we
I
gonna
think
ask
if
them
there's
for
a lot of
engineering?
pending questions right now, David, about exactly what would be in the proposal, I don't know that it's like ready for prime time. You could vote to do it. You could certainly make a motion and vote for me to put in the proposal. And I could talk to Jason before I do that. And then again, all this triggers is us going to Capitol and talking more about the project.
Yeah.
So
See, I think we have to know a little bit more what we're talking about. I think we have to get
Me too.
engineering of
Yeah.
some kind in there. And we
what I
have to
suspect
clarify
is,
DPW
yeah.
involvement.
What I would suspect is CIPC would come back to us, like, or talk to us in their meeting and say that we need additional information or additional things done before they put it in their list of potential capital projects. Does that make sense? But again, I think the suggestion of talking to Jason as the next step, because I think we're at that point now, and telling him that sort of where we're at in the process. And then if he has any recommendations, I mean, he does this a little bit more than us and has worked with other departments like DPW. So maybe he knows how to leverage that relationship and we
Right.
can
That'd
work
be
with him on
great.
that point. Yeah.
So yeah, that would be good.
Okay, so where are we? Let's vote to remove
Does that answer your
the
question? Does that
little
answer your question,
block,
David?
shall we?
Did I
Can I
answer
ask
David's
one more little
question?
question?
Yes.
So at the library entrance, those big fat columns holding up this little teeny roof.
Yeah.
Would it help to just have really narrow columns? I mean, would that make it more accessible for wheelchair
Well, it
people?
still means that the wheelchair has to get all the way over to the right to push the button because the door opens
Okay.
to the left. Because they'd knock themselves if they came straight on. I
Yeah,
think
no,
no
they would get
columns.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other part of it was I spoke to John Parent about this and he said there's electronics in the column, so that would require putting them somewhere else.
What electronics are in the columns?
The
Buttons.
ADA
For the-
switch. The
For the
ADA
switch.
switch. Sorry,
That's why
Mary,
it's
I
so
stole your
awkward.
thunder. Yeah.
No, which is why it's so awkward, which is
Yes.
why in this whole rethink, I think that starting to visualize it the way Amy was explaining with, I realize there are electronics there. I realize that might be more costly or whatnot, but getting the electronics out there, putting that button somewhere more convenient and
wall.
having like a really
Well, on the
beautiful
wall.
long awning
And
for shelter of all kinds, kids waiting, people who need help getting to their cars, people who are waiting for a ride, people who just want to have a nice conversation and can't do it in the library because they want to be a little louder. And there's no way to do it inside in like a vestibule. This is like to use Amy's wonderful metaphor that she always uses, our library is like an extension of all of our living rooms. So this should be a wonderful front porch.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Me too.
yeah,
So do we need to vote on removing or getting a bid to remove the little asphalt sidewalk, the little diagonal?
You don't need a bid for it if you're spending under 10,000. You could get a quote. So you
Well,
might
we
want to
have- But I
say,
mean, I would say that the trustees need to vote on moving forward to get a quote to remove that little walk. Maybe some trustees don't want to remove it. I don't know. I mean, David, Amy, Janet?
I'm good.
I'm good with it going.
David.
I defer to the people who are more aesthetically aware than I am.
I think if
Okay,
nothing else,
so
it's not ADA compliant,
we're
so-
all in favor, right?
Okay, but we're gonna vote because we know what happens when we
Okay.
don't vote. It turns out later on you needed to have vote. So I'm gonna make
Okay.
a motion that should we do Jane and Ryan get quotes for removing the little asphalt sidewalk and bring it to a future meeting?
I'll second.
What, do they need to do that, or could we just give them the go-ahead?
Yeah, I would like to
To
look
do
at the
it-
quote amount.
yeah, you could do it up to a certain amount, but because of the price threshold, I would recommend doing it the way Marguerite is suggesting it. Because this is going to be, I would say anytime you're approaching several thousands of dollars, you want to get a cost estimate. And we should, just for due diligence, Jane, we should pick one or two of the other people on the list and see if they're available to meet, and we could have a conversation with them about
Okay,
what it would cost from them to come out and do this as well. But, because Andy's whole thing was some companies may not even come out just to do that work because it's such a small project. So, I mean, that would be helpful if we met with people and we got that feedback from them. So,
Okay,
Okay.
do we need to think about the reseeding, or are we just gonna let J&J do it?
that's a question for DPW. But I would
DPW.
assume we did ask, we did when we talked to Bill about this,
Mhm.
we did say if it was removed, could DPW reseed there? And he said that that wouldn't be a problem. So I hope I'm not misquoting or
No,
misremembering.
he said
him.
that. He was
Okay.
kind of down on the whole thing, but yes, J&J could receive that if it's dug out.
Okay, so can I rephrase my motion? I move that the board vote to approve Jane and Ryan getting 3 quotes to remove the asphalt diagonal walk in front of the library.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Who was the seconder?
Amy,
Landry was the seconder, Mariana. Okay, Landry, aye.
yes,
David,
Donnie, aye.
Eckberg, aye.
Pinky
Maybe
eye. I could never get the cadence.
we should raise our hand if we want to be next or something.
Yes, that's very, yes, yes. Okay, that passes. We're good.
Did Jane
Thank you,
vote?
Jane and Ryan.
I did,
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
he did.
Also,
Yeah.
I
Janet,
did.
for dealing with the, since you're really the true financial expert among us on the costs of various things. Anyway, okay, so are we done with this?
I think
I'm
so
just
for
gonna say
now.
one more thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mary,
Not about
please.
parking, but as we're talking about vestibules and things, just to go on the record here, because we're talking about the awkwardness of how that door opens, you know, a good designer potentially could also consider just having it be like a pocket slider of some sort. So we might not even need to deal
An
with something
electric
like that.
slider.
I don't know. I'm just, yeah. So just
There's a lot,
putting that out there
this is
for the
real- There's
future.
a lot of really good ways to approach our new porch.
Yes.
Including looking at where the book drop is right now.
Yeah.
I will just apologize to you all if I am not giving you the proper guidance on how to go about this too. But like I have said, this isn't really something
Oh,
I was not expecting the response from DPW we got. So I'm trying to kind of navigate on how we would do this ourselves. And I think part of this is I know we spent a lot of time on this, but it's helpful for me to know where all you are at and then to try to talk out what the right steps are. And I really do have to appreciate Jane's time on this. She spent a lot of energy and effort. And I will say that conversation with Andy was very helpful to me. That I went from thinking that this was a very daunting task to once talking to Andy, it felt like I know it still seems pretty daunting, I think to all of us in this group, but after talking to Andy, it did feel like it's something that we could manage. So that was helpful. I'm glad she made that introduction. So thank you, Kate.
Great, good, okay. And we also have to remember there are actually 2 doors down there.
oh, the other one on the other end.
The
Yeah.
emergency one, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Well, there's
Picturing
the
making
one-
that door
there's the
like
one at the
twice
book
as
drop.
wide.
yes,
So
Maybe with a slider thing or whatever, porch in front,
yep.
little button on the side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're in
I talked to
brainstorming mode
I
right now,
did
like it. Yeah.
I did talk to Mary Bolsa when she was doing the facade restoration stuff about what we would need to make the emergency exit handicapped accessible.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to go into the details of that.
A
It is
lot.
we could do it. It's going to be very expensive, very complicated. That's what I can tell you. Because the ramps need to be at a particular incline. They need to be a particular width. We may be looking at having to expand that doorway potentially. The fact that it like is in a hallway that also leads upstairs with stairs is its own animal. So it can be done, but it depends on how much time and money you have. And we can say that about any project we want to undertake, right? So, but we could look into that as well down the road. So,
Okay, I think we're moving on to agenda item 5, which is public comment. Is there anybody on with us?
so I neglected to say this because he joined us a little bit after the meeting started, but Mr. Stivers has been
Sam.
watching the meeting with us. So I don't
Hello,
know.
Sam.
I'm
Sam.
gonna Sam, you're the only one who hangs out, so I don't know if you wanted to say hi.
Do you
during
have any public comment? I guess that's a
No
Oh,
comment,
wait, he
thanks.
just unmuted.
No
Okay.
comment, thanks.
Thank you
Riveting
for being-
conversation.
Yeah, right. Right. The library parking lot is the number one, you know.
in
Yeah,
the
discussion.
total amount of things in the universe. Okay, any other business that shall properly come before the board? All right.
We have the next
date of
meeting
our
scheduled?
next- Nothing? Okay, the date of our next meeting is September 8th.
15th.
15th.
I think we
All
talked
right.
about doing the 15th because of the Labor Day weekend.
Okay. The date of our next meeting is September 15th.
We have been kind of following the second Monday, so I think in October we're going to try to do that.
Okay, that'll be
October's the 20th, right? Because of Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah, that's what we
Heritage
have.
Day?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
put it on the 20th.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, you're correct. So that's also in the third week, and then I think in November we have to do it in the second one because we want to try to avoid Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
And that'll
so
be the 10th.
10th,
The 10th.
yeah,
Right.
And then December is the 8th.
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. All right. Good. All right. Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion to adjourn? That's
So
Amy.
moved.
That was Amy.
I
Okay.
motion, yeah.
I'll second it.
All Okay, so sorry, even though Janet said so moved, we're gonna do Amy as making the motion, Mary is seconding, and then for the record, the time is 12:20 that the meeting
Thank
is
you,
ended.
Mariana. You are a saint in saint's
Yeah.
clothing. Okay, Landry, I.
Yes, Donnie,
Davis,
I.
aye.
Ekberg, aye.
Did
Go,
I
Mary.
Maybe I.
Many I.
Good. We all said aye. All right. Thank you,
Okay, so
everyone.
when
Thank you
this
for your
started
help
a
on
long
this.
time ago, I'm just gonna say this, is that we used to do alphabetical order. So it'd always be Jane, David, and then going down the list. I don't know if you guys want to do that again. I'm just trying to help because I see the struggle is real. Okay.
All right,
Kind
we'll
of
talk
fun.
about that we'll discuss that at our next meeting.
I like that. Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
week.